At the beginning of the movie, we observe a couple enjoying their time in a park. They are joyfully celebrating Valentine's Day. Meanwhile, an individual is capturing their photographs with a camera. The boy proposes marriage to the girl and she joyfully consents to marry him. Subsequently, the boy receives a phone call from the cameraman. They had in fact hired the cameraman to document these special moments. He mentions that the photographs did not turn out well, so they should redo everything. The boy becomes slightly irritated with him, but then they both decide to recreate the moment. The cameraman commenced recording all the events. However, a murderer arrives wielding a spear. He forcefully thrusts the spear directly into the cameraman's eye, and it exits through the rear of his head, resulting in his immediate death. The murderer utilizes the cameraman's phone to contact the boy. Believing it to be the cameraman, the girl, feeling irritated, takes the phone and begins conversing, but she hears the cameraman's pre-recorded message. As the girl turns around, an arrow pierces her friend's head, and he also meets his demise. The girl lets out a piercing scream and then she is assaulted once more. She dashes to preserve her life, but they persistently pursue her and she conceals herself behind a vehicle. However, abruptly, everything falls silent. She begins to ponder who it was and where they might have disappeared to. Yet, the murderer hasn't departed. He was advancing towards her and resumes his assault on her. The girl flees from that spot as well, but stumbles along the path and the murderer catches up to her. The murderer fires at her with a crossbow. An arrow hit the boy's leg, making him scream loudly. Despite the pain, he limped to a factory, which was a winery. A security guard was there. The girl urgently asked the guard for help, saying someone was chasing her. "Please, help me," she pleaded. Soon the killer showed up too. The guard tried to help by pulling out a gun. Seeing this, the killer took a heart-shaped knife from his pocket. Before the guard could fire, the killer threw the knife at him. He stabs him, resulting in the guard's demise, and subsequently retrieves a sizable weapon to eliminate the girl. Observing this, the girl commences running once more and conceals herself beneath a machine. The killer was actively searching for her outside. Shortly thereafter, the killer discerns her hiding spot. He extends his arm through the machine's window and seizes her throat, but the girl struggles vigorously and liberates herself, shutting the window, which causes the boy's hand to become trapped, compelling him to withdraw his hand. At that moment, the killer realizes the young girl finds herself concealed within a machine designed for crushing grapes to produce wine. The killer approaches the machine directly and activates it. Observing a component of the machine advancing towards her to crush her, she begins to scream loudly, much to the killer's enjoyment. As the machine draws nearer to her, it presses against her and tears her apart. Her blood flows out, resembling wine emerging from the machine. In Binary, the dealer meticulously crafts a heart shape using flowers and strategically places a hunter's heart at the center, which was a hallmark of this notorious killer, and it is named Heart IC. This is because the flesh he adorned had heart-shaped eyes on it. Consequently, the movie is also referred to as Heart Ice. Following this incident, the news rapidly disseminates across all media outlets that the Heart Ice killer has resurfaced on Valentine's Day. He particularly targets couples. Nonetheless, if anyone obstructs his path, he will not spare them either. A killer has already emerged and since then has targeted many couples. He is only active on Valentine's Day. Therefore, the media requests all girls and boys to abandon the idea of celebrating Valentine's Day. They should not form any relationships or meet anyone. They should stay at home, otherwise the Heart Ice killer will come. Some boys and girls heed this warning, but there are some who believe that they should not be afraid. After this, we see the main character of the story, whose name is Ellie. Ellie's relationship with her friend. He had moved on and formed a connection with someone else, but Ellie hadn't. She was still single because she still remembered her friend. Her previous friend could tell from her expression that she was sad thinking about her friend, but she changed the subject by saying she had to present her work at the office today, so she was just a bit nervous and it was nothing else. Actually, both of them worked at a jewelry company. Yes, Ellie was a designer. She was given the task of creating an ad with a love theme. Since Ali's heart was broken, how could she work properly on a love-themed ad? She ended up creating an ad where, in the end, the relationship breaks up and the guy gets killed. It is evident that nobody appreciates it. Hosh is extremely upset with her. She mentions that she had placed her trust in Ellie, but Ellie squandered her time. In order to rectify this situation, the boss brings in a freelancer. This freelancer had recently crafted an outstanding advertisement with a romantic theme that went viral. Initially, Ellie feels anxious, fearing that the freelancer might take over her position, but he reassures her that he will collaborate with her on the advertisement and that they are a team. Meanwhile, we observe the detective and the female officer. They go to investigate the binary crime scene. There, they find a blood-stained ring that doesn't seem to belong to the victim's hunter. They think it might belong to the killer. It has JS written on it, and they decide to keep it as evidence. Jay tells Ellie that tonight they should go to a lovely place for dinner where couples usually go, meaning it's a spot for lovers. This dinner will be just for the ad, or maybe they'll get a good idea. He says it's a kind of date where we go out. It's not there, it's happening, but just within work limits. At first she says, but it's Valentine's Day. He, being single, doesn't pay much attention. He says, oh yes, you must have some plans today, right? She mentions that she doesn't have any plans because she's single, which he says is great, and it's a perfect opportunity to go out. However, Ellie was quite upset. She says, I'm not in the mood, my heart's not in it, let's have dinner tomorrow. He replies, I can't make it tomorrow. It's my friend's wedding. Ellie didn't have any other option, so she finally agrees. When they reach the hotel, the security was doing checks there because there was widespread fear of heart-related incidents. When she was being checked, the metal detector started beeping. When they searched her, they found a metal straw which is used for drinking juices and such. Ellie says that she doesn't like paper straws at all. She finds them strange, so she always carries her own metal straw, which is completely clean. After that, she goes and sits at the table. In the meantime, he also arrives there. Watching the video, he says it seems... Ma'am, has your date arrived? Annie immediately replies, oh, he's not my date, he's an office colleague and we're just working. Then he sits down with her and orders drinks for both of them. She shares some ideas, but he was paying close attention to Ellie. Perhaps he was more interested in Ellie than the work, as he even says to her, why do I feel like your heart is broken? Ellie says, it's nothing like that and let's stay away from such things, okay? He says, I just asked because I felt it after seeing your ad. First, she starts scolding him, saying, who do you think you are? To judge me? If you know so much about love, then why are you still single? Yes, understand that this girl's heart is filled with hatred. He says, first calm your mind, only then can we work together, and leaves in anger. Then Ellie realizes that she might have said too much. She goes outside and apologizes, saying, don't worry, I'm fine and please help me with this ad or else I'll lose my job. Just then, Allie sees her ex. Upon his arrival with her, she playfully embraces Jay and introduces him as her companion. Jay, who is quite astute, swiftly comprehends that Ellie is doing this to provoke jealousy in her ex. He goes along with the act and introduces himself as Ellie's companion. However, neither of them is aware that the heart ice killer has observed their embrace and mistakenly believes they are an actual couple. Consequently, they become his subsequent target. Afterward, Jay proceeds to escort Ellie to her residence. But the artist noticed that Ali might have lost her house key. He thinks about helping her but doesn't act on it. The taxi driver notices this and encourages him, saying, go ahead, son, help her and speak your heart. Everyone comes to Jay and asks if there's an issue. Annie says that she actually lost her key, but it's okay. She plans to break the girl's watch to get inside. Her landlord won't say anything to her, but Jay suggests she shouldn't do that and risk getting hurt. He claims he knows how to do it easily without causing any injury. However, when he tries, he ends up getting hurt. Annie realizes that this happened because of her, so she takes Jay inside with her. She removes the glass pieces from his hand and bandages him up. She was a medical student before, but then she dropped out. Suddenly, Ali remembers that she forgot to put something from the table into the cupboard. She quietly goes to put it away, but there was a killer hiding in the cupboard, which frightens her and he attacks her. She tries to fight him alone, but the killer overpowers her, picks her up and slams her against the wall. He then takes out his knife to finish her off. But just then, Ellie hits him on the head with a lamp. Taking the opportunity, both of them run outside. They lock the killer in the room. They were just starting to breathe a sigh of relief when the killer thrusts a knife through the door. Now both of them run out of the house and straight into the alley. They were just thinking of escaping in a taxi when the killer also kills the taxi driver and then pulls out a sword to kill them. The first one angrily says, "Hey brother, you have a misunderstanding. We are not a couple. Please let us go." From behind, Jay starts to call the police, but the killer sees him and immediately destroys his phone. Now both of them start running away from there. They observe that the way forward is obstructed, and at that very moment the killer seizes Ellie. He attempts to rescue Ellie once more but is rendered unconscious by the killer, upon witnessing which she begins to flee because the killer desires to pursue Ellie, leaving him behind. Ellie runs and conceals herself in a large swing. After some time, she emerges and notices him sitting outside on a swing. She misses once again, and this time when she looks, the killer is absent, and now he turns on her swing as well. He commences swinging it at a rapid speed. Then all of a sudden, he halts the swing, causing a jolt. She tumbles and hasn't even managed to rise properly when the killer lunges at her, but she narrowly evades and kicks the killer, sprinting away. However, she stumbles once more a little further along, and as the killer approaches to attack her, he notices the police arriving and flees, leaving her behind. The police rescue Ellie, but then she discovers something very peculiar. The police have apprehended Jay, mistakenly believing he was the killer. She exclaims, "How can this be possible? He was with me!" Then Ellie proceeds to converse with Jay, but "I believed we were in this together, yet you abandoned me and fled." She responds, "What other choice did I have? The killer was pursuing me." Then she inquires of the officer, "How can you assert that he is the killer?" To which they reveal that they discovered weapons and a mask in Jay's possession. Ellie insists Jay is innocent, but they disregard her and take Jay into custody. During the interrogation, they show Jay the same J.S. Sloan found at the crime scene and ask him if it's his, since his full name is also Jay Simon. Jay clearly denies it, saying, "No, how could it be mine? I'm still single." However, the detective continues to question him, stating that the killer's locations match all the places where Jay has been. To this, Jay responds, "I am a field officer. I keep moving around the village. It's just a coincidence and I am innocent." But the detective was not convinced by his words. Ellie reached the police station. She insists on releasing Jay, claiming he's innocent, but no one seems interested in her words except for a guy named David in Delhi who shows interest. He offers her coffee and suggests going on a date, but Ellie declines, saying, "No, thank you, I barely escaped with my life." David responds, "No worries. We're just glad the killer hot ice has been caught." Then a female officer comes out and asks Ellie, "So tell me, if you all are single, why is the killer after you?" Ellie begins to explain everything to her. To provoke her former partner, she embraced Jay, and perhaps the murderer witnessed everything and assumes we are a couple, although we are not. Then abruptly the illumination ceases, but the female officer activates a flashlight and dispatches another officer to inspect the primary power line. Ellie trails behind, yet the killer had already reached the location. He eliminates the policewoman sent to investigate, but prior to that, the killer seizes the flashlight, deactivates it, and employs his night vision to search for Ellie. Nonetheless, she was equally resourceful. She confronts the killer and manages to flee from there. Along the way, she encounters a female officer named Ollie. The murderer is pursuing her, and upon his arrival, she initially flees, leaving the officer isolated. Meanwhile, Jay perceives the sound of a gunshot. Accompanying it, he hears the female officer's scream, compelling the detective to attempt to rescue her. However, the murderer unexpectedly assaults him, stabbing his legs and splitting them, resulting in a horrific demise for the detective. The murderer then advances towards Jay with the intention to kill him, but Jay is unable to suddenly escape as he is restrained by handcuffs. He was skillfully dodging the incoming blows. Fortunately, Ellie arrives from the opposite direction, discharging her weapon, forcing the killer to retreat. Ellie assists Jay in unlocking his handcuffs, and together they commence their escape. They arrive at a parking area where numerous couples are seated in their cars, enjoying a movie. The killer is also lurking in the vicinity. He observes that there are numerous couples, indicating an abundance of potential targets. The others remain unafraid, assuming it is merely an individual wearing a mask. Then, as they continue to walk, he hands a card to a man and remarks, "Here you go. Happy Valentine's Day." Jay and Ellie are still sprinting when they spot a large white van and they silently slip inside. Inside, there was a couple talking. Gio tries to stop them, asking them not to make noise because there might be a fight, but both were completely drunk. They don't understand for a while, and then the killer arrives and grabs the guy, shoving a sword into his mouth. Then he grabs his friend and forcibly pushes her mouth onto the sword as well, resulting in their gruesome deaths. This marks the beginning of the killer's deadly game. One by one, he starts killing everyone. Even then, there's chaos. Everyone tries to save themselves and starts running around. Jay and Elle are watching all this from a distance. Elle says things have gotten really messed up. We brought this death here and now we have to take it away from here. They both make a plan to deal with Hard Eyes. From a distance, they signal him saying if he has the courage, come over here. So now Hard Eyes leaves everyone else and starts following them. He says, how are we going to fight? We don't even have any weapons. Ellie shows her metal store. Jay says, oh man, this won't work. We need to think of something else. Then both of them remember the sword that was stuck in the man's mouth. They work together to pull out the sword, and just then the killer arrives. They fight with the sword, but the killer manages to snatch it from their hands and knocks Jay to the ground, hitting him repeatedly. Finally, the killer is about to take Jay's life with his knife, but then Elle comes from behind and attacks the killer with whatever she can find, causing the killer to stagger and bleed profusely. His knife also slips from his hand, but even at that moment, he seizes Ali. Observing Ali in distress, Jay, this young man, picks up the knife and thrusts it into his back, causing the girl to perish right there. They both remove his mask to discover who it was and the reason behind his killing spree. The police commend them both and mention that you two will become renowned. You have put an end to the chaos caused by the Hard Ice Killer. Just then, a female officer arrives and offers Jay a ride. It seemed like she wanted to form a connection with him, which made Ellie feel jealous. He tells her he needs to go to the airport and will get a car. She insists it's no problem and offers to drop him off. So, Jem says goodbye to Ali one last time. Ali replies, okay, go on, your friend is waiting. He responds, she's more than just a friend, and leaves for the airport with her. Meanwhile, Ali goes back home. She misses Jay a lot and realizes she's fallen in love with him. She regrets letting Jay go and calls her friend to share everything. Her friend says he is a good person. Before his flight takes off, go to the airport and tell him how you feel. So she rushes to the airport and starts looking for Jay, but then she gets a call from Hard Eyes Killer. Ellie answers the call, and as soon as she hears the voice, she turns pale. She says, how is this possible? Weren't you dead? They say, don't overthink. If you want Jay safe and sound, come to the given location. When she reaches the location, she sees that Hard Eyes has taken Jay captive. So now, the whole story comes out, and it turns out that the real Hard Ice Killer is the same guy named David who talked to Ellie at the police station. What's even more shocking is that there are not one but two killers. One is David, and the other is his wife, who is none other than the female officer who kidnapped Jay under the pretense of giving him a lift. Ellie asks them why they are doing all this. They reply that they enjoy killing couples. It gives them a lot of satisfaction. As for the old killer, it was just a kind of fun for us, which was so crazy that it was causing chaos everywhere. Then they explained that when we saw you two hugging, we decided that you would be our next target. The one who attacked from the closet was my wife, meaning the office driver, and the one who attacked the driver was David. At the police station, David attacked, and his wife deliberately pretended to be in trouble. When the detective came to save her, David killed him, and the ring that was found belonged to my wife because her full name forms the initials JS. They give her the option that if she truly loves him, she should shoot herself with a gun to save him, and if not, she should shoot Jay. Then they would let both of them go. She chooses her love, Jay, and places the gun on her forehead, confessing in front of him that she loves him very much and is giving her life for him. Jay tries to stop her, but Ellie doesn't listen. She says, I'm sorry, and then she shoots Jay. Ellie did this because, due to their involvement in playing manipulative games with them, in any case, their intention was to eliminate both of them, but Ellie intentionally aimed and shot G in the shoulder, which merely grazed him and struck David's wife, unbeknownst to David. He was laughing, but upon witnessing her fall, he comprehended what had transpired. He glanced at his wife, and seizing the opportunity, G and Ellie attempted to flee but did not manage to get far. David apprehended Jay, and his wife, having regained her footing, captured Ellie, and both of them were on the verge of finishing them off together. However, at that moment, Jay astutely retrieves an arrow from David's pocket and forcefully drives it into his head. The arrow penetrates through one of his eyes and emerges through his nose, resulting in him staggering and collapsing amidst the candles. Simultaneously, Ellie drives a metal straw into his wife's throat, and now Ellie is exceedingly enraged. She propels his wife against the wall of a statue, which pierces through her throat. Due to the height, the lower portion of her body detaches. Subsequently, David, enveloped in wax, begins crawling towards them. The area was filled with wax. He starts crawling towards them. Then Jay attacks him with his crossbow and finally takes his life too. After everything ends, we see a time 1 year later where a PR ad made by Ellie and Jay is well received and they receive a lot of praise. Ellie decides to leave her company and return to the medical field. She goes on a date with Vivoji and proposes to him. Happily, Jay also agrees to the marriage. And in conjunction with their narrative, this film also concludes at this point.